Hey guys, and welcome back to Golf with Jen. Today I'm back at Twin Creeks Country Club in Austin. A lot of people wanted me to clarify that it's in Austin because apparently that's more than one Twin Creeks. But anyway, this is my first round back since my 3-week tournament stretch. So what I wanted to work on today, like I told you guys, there's a few things that I wanted to work on. So I came right out to the golf course because just look at how beautiful of a day it is. And I am just going to be working on my short game today. And what I decided to do to work on my short game is to play from a shorter tee box, because obviously when you play from a shorter tee box you have shorter approaches into the green. So let's see if we can shoot a couple under par today. Lost my tee again. Oh. Found it. So I wanted to show you guys that hole played twice because as you could see from my first approach shot, so my approach shot was 64 yards, and it's just kind of one of those shots for me that is like you have to chip it, but you have to like hit a full chip because you can't hit a full shot. But it was also downhill and down slope, so I actually did not land it that far over, but it was probably like a good 5 yards over because of the slope, and it ended up going really far off the green. But this is exactly the distances that I need to work on, because even though both of the shots resulted in a par, obviously the first one was a much more difficult par, and you can't leave yourself those kind of shots all day long because you just can't expect yourself to make 6-footers all day long. So obviously it's like, and it's, you know, it's hitting a 58-degree wedge into the green. It's not like I was hitting a 5-iron. And you know, the difference was hitting a good shot and a bad shot. Even my first approach shot to the green was actually a good shot. It just flew a lot further than I expected it to. And of course, I also need to remember that I'm back in Texas and not in Arkansas. So it's back to bouncy greens. It's not going to hold as well as it did in Arkansas, where there was a lot more grass. So yeah, just need to adjust a little bit. But also this is basically what I want to work on. And I think this will be the perfect yardage for me to do that. And the perfect day for me to practice this, because it seems like there's nobody right now and it's a perfect day. So let's keep going. So this par 3 to this pin right now is playing 122. It's obviously downhill. In the last few times that I've played here, which is, I mean, not that many times, like 3 times, the green is usually able to hold if you hit on it. So it's 122 yards, playing downhill. I'm going to hit a pitching wedge, and it's going to be like a soft pitching wedge. And I'm also not going to tee up the ball, because normally on par 3s I will tee up the ball, but also don't forget that usually when you tee up the ball you hit it a couple yards further, which for me my pitching wedge is already over the distance that I want to hit it, which is about 112. So I'm going to tee it up. I'm not going to tee it up because I don't want it to go even further than that. And so yeah, always pay attention to that. If you tee up your ball, chances are you're going to go a little bit further. So I hit the tee shot a perfect distance in that one. It was pin high, but if you guys watched my previous video here, you guys will know the hardest part of this course is the greens. So let's see if I can make a few more putts, but it was a good putt. It just did not break like I expected it to. So we'll take a par. One of the other things that's good about playing a different tee box, especially a shorter one, is chances are most of the time you're going to have to play smarter. So you're going to actually have to think about what to hit rather than just pull out the driver every time. And because more hazards will likely come into play, because you know the tee boxes are usually designed for certain distances. So when you play off certain distances and you hit the average distance of that tee box, chances are you're going to hit all the hazards. But also if you hit too far, like if you're longer than a certain tee box, you're probably going to reach the hazards that people that usually play on this tee box aren't able to reach. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so you have to be smarter. You have to just work your way around the course more rather than just pulling out driver every hole. So another funny thing about teeing off from a different tee box is sometimes you're just going to end up in the exact same place that you would have if you teed off from the back tee box, because like I said, you have to lay up. This hole, there's a water hazard down the right side and in front, so you can't really do much other than laying up to a good position and just try to make birdie from there. So here I'm actually worse because I hit it down, it kicks out to the right side, but now I kind of have this tree in play. And as you can see, there's bunkers out there. But because I'm a bit on a downhill lie, I feel like I can just hit, basically just hit a little bit of a fade shot, but also not too much because I just want to hit it on the fairway. It's a par 5, I'm laying up. But yeah, I'm just going to hit a little bit of a fade shot, but not force a fade shot because the lie should push it a little bit right. So my main goal here is to make sure that I start it on line, that I do not clip the tree. So I've got about 97 to the pin. This is one thing that obviously I can't be as accurate as I am during tournaments because I do not have a yardage book. But I think there's not that much space in front of the pin because the pin is in front today. So I'm thinking I need to hit it about 95 because I don't want to leave it short and have to chip. I would much rather just be on the green somewhere. Even if I'm a little bit over, at least I'm putting and putting for birdie. That was pin high, a little bit right, but I'm still putting for birdie. So this hole from this tee box becomes a very interesting hole. It's over here it says it's 242 yards to the pin. So there is a water hazard from the back tees, which is a good like 50 yards behind. Normally I would just hit like a 5-iron or a hybrid and lay up before the hazard, but since I'm over here, it's a good practice for me to just try and go for the green. And because there's hazard right side, bunkers left side, water hazard in front, basically you need to be very accurate. So this is a great practice as well because driver accuracy is important. So like you can see here, there's a water hazard in front. The green is a little bit elevated. There's a tree and a water hazard down the right side. Bunkers, and that's where I hit it, right there. That's my ball. So like you can see here, I landed it like a couple of yards short of the green. Like that's my ball mark. But also the green goes downhill. So like I said, if it landed on the green, there's a big chance I was going to be over. So this is like the perfect spot for me. That broke a lot more than I was expecting it to. But we've got about a 4-footer for birdie. So let's see if we can make this one. I almost missed it. See, and that's why it's such a confusing green, because from where I was chipping, which was right over there, my ball went this way and kind of broke a lot, and that's why I ended up on this side of the hole. But if you look at the grain, you can see it's going that way. So that's why I actually almost missed the putt, because I even took less break. It's definitely a right to left putt, but because the grain is pushing so hard left to right, it actually pushes the ball away from the hole. So because of that, if I did not account for the break and for the grain and take less break, I would have definitely missed it. Like, I almost missed it, and I almost took straight over there. So yeah, gotta pay super attention to these greens and be careful. So I think I measured that perfectly, because I can't really shoot the hazard, but I hit a 5-foot there, and I think it was about 200 yards that I needed to carry. I think I'm good, but I also like that every single hole is a thinking hole. Like I said just now, I can't just go up, pull up, whatever. I'm used to hitting that. And you know, I've done these kinds of videos so often, like, you know, hitting from different tee boxes and just changing up the golf course. But that is so important. It's so important to change up your game, to make it different every single time, because how often are you going to have the same exact lie position every single day? Probably never. So it's always good to challenge yourself, whether you think it's going to be too short of a golf course. If you pull it forward, hey, if it's too short, shoot 59. So on this hole, no matter what you do, you're going to have a long shot into the green, unless you were long enough to carry the hazard. But I wasn't, so I still have a long shot into these greens, and it's still going to be a difficult shot. And that's why I said, you know, some holes might be short, like the previous hole where I could go for a par 4 on 1, but other holes are still going to be challenging. And even if it's short, there's always going to be a different kind of challenge for a golf course, depending on which tee box you play it from. So from what I remember for that second shot, they told me to hit it down the right side. I think I hit it down the right side, but I was just not, like, I was hitting it too far down the right side. But like I said, it's a long hole. I had 178 yards, so a par is a good score on this hole. So what's funny is, if you look at this, like where I am right now, you're like, whoa, Jen, you hit it way short and way right. But actually, this is the perfect miss. So on this hole, you really do not want to go over, because it's super difficult to chip from there, and the pin is close to all the way behind, so you have zero room to work with. I mean, obviously the next perfect shot would be on the green, but if you were to miss it, this is exactly where you should miss it. And it's important to know where to miss, because I hit a solid shot there, I just did not hit it the right direction. But now I have a basically an uphill straight chip, whereas if I were to miss it over here, short over here, you can see how big of a slope I would have to work with. And it's also very difficult because it's uphill here and then downhill here, whereas for me it's basically just a straight chip. So where to miss it is very important, especially if it's your home course. Take that home course advantage. Know on every single hole where you have to miss it if you are to miss it. That's not to say that you're going to think of missing it, but that's just like, when you know where to miss it, you're more confident in your shot as well, because you know that if you miss it and you miss it there, you're going to be fine. So like I said just now, shorter does not necessarily mean easier or better, especially depending on your distance. So if you look at this hole was designed for people to hit it that way and then play a dog leg. So that's what I do from the back tee box. But from here, I cannot hit it towards that bunker because I'm going to run out of fairway, and I can actually reach that tree out there. So what I have to do is actually cut this corner and hit it over this tree, which does not look very big on camera, but in person it's actually a pretty high tree, so I have to hit this tee shot high. So if I were to miss it a little bit and hit it low, or just sometimes when you catch it a little bit thin, they say thin to win, but the thing about it is, if I hit it thin, it's not going to carry that tree, it's going to go straight into it. So for this tee shot, it's actually way harder from here because now I have to hit a really high tee shot. For me, that's really high. So yeah, just because it's shorter does not mean it's easier. Just look at where this tee box is aiming. It's like so after the drive, I have about 252 to the pin. There is a hazard about 50 yards in front of the green. So this is a really tough approach shot, especially to hit a 3-wood. And I'm technically in the rough because, well, it's a really small fairway. Here, I'll show you. And basically here's the fairway. And if you hit it there, you're gonna be behind that tree. So that's not good either. So I'm actually in a good position. And to be honest, in a tournament, I wouldn't go for this green because 252, I can't reach it anyway, especially because it's wet. But because it's practice, I want to practice hitting my 3-wood, and it requires a good 3-wood here, good 3-wood shot. So I think it's a good opportunity for me to just practice it, you know, try to get it as close as I can, try to hit a good shot, make sure I clear the water. And if I do have this kind of shot in a tournament, I can always pull back to this shot if I hit a good shot. It's something that I can remember and something I can pull upon in the future. So I hit a good shot there. Like I told you, there was zero chance that I was going to get on the green unless I did something and like hit. It's just like too wet right now and it's not going to roll that much. So, but anyway, and I actually have a much more difficult angle to this green than if I had laid up. But like I said before, it's not something that I would do in a tournament. It's just something that I want to practice because, you know, you cannot have enough good shots in your memory bank, and there's not always an opportunity to do that. So sometimes, you know, if you have to pull off a shot, at least you know you have it in the bag. So in addition to practicing a 3-wood shot that is pretty difficult, I also managed to practice a 33-yard chip shot, which is not my favorite for that kind of approach because it was like a flop shot and it ended up being a really good flop shot. So now I have 2 extra good shots to put in my memory bank for future use. So for this par 3, we've got 131 yards. It's a little bit of an elevated green, so we want to carry probably about 125, I'm assuming. I'm hitting a 9-iron. I hit it a little bit right, which is kind of my miss right now. Just a little bit of a push, but it's okay because it's going straight and I know that it just takes practice for me to know that, okay, if I miss it, it's going to be 5 yards right or whatever. And knowing that is important because then you're able to choose better aims. I know that if I miss now, it's not going to go left. It's not like a push fade. It's a bit of a push draw. So I know, basically just knowing your own game. You know, there's nothing wrong with pushing or pulling or whatever you're doing, but you need to know that you're doing it and you need to know how far you're missing it so that you're able to choose better targets and obviously score better. You know what, now looking back at my video, I think I was actually aimed there. So that is something that I probably need to work on. And I know it's like back to what I did before, which is aiming right. But you know, it's just so hard as someone who used to play a draw consistently to someone who's hitting it straighter now, to not have to compensate for that draw. It's just part of my body. I've been playing a draw for 12 years. So it's something that I need to work on. But you know, if this is my miss, I will gladly take this miss anytime. Yay! Fix your ball marks and you make birdies. So my aim completely changes for this hole. Normally I'm trying to hit it down the right side, but now I can reach the second right bunker. So now I'm actually trying to hit it down the left side. You know, no matter how hard you practice, no matter what you do, you're not going to hit perfect shots all the time. If you hit perfect shots all the time, I would hope it will be for a round that counts and you're going to win something major. But it's just, you know, mistakes happen. It's just controlling it, making your bad shots playable, making your bad shots decent. For me, I hit it in this bunker. It's not the best place to be because it's quite a high bunker and there's a tree in front of me, but it's 100 yards from the green. So is it a bad shot? No, I wouldn't say so. And it's not going to get me in any trouble. I know that I have this shot. I'm able to hit 100 yards high enough to carry this tree. So like I said, it's just a matter of controlling your mistakes and making your mistakes bogeys rather than double bogeys. "61 yards, very similar to the first hole. And this is the distance that I'm not good at, so let's see what we can do. We just have to formulate a good plan before of what we're going to do with our swing, and then when you're going to hit it, you're not going to be thinking about that. For me, I'm thinking about a half swing, but it's got to be committed because it's uphill. So it's not going to be like a baby half swing, it's going to be a legit half swing. Might be good, might be a little bit over. But either way, we're putting. Well, it definitely went further than I thought it was going to, but I don't think it landed that far from where I was trying to land it. It just bounced over. So, like I said, we're still putting, so let's try and make this birdie. Land it right here. That was fast. Alright, well, not too bad. Made a couple birdies. I was thinking of doing another challenge on the back nine, but I'm thinking maybe we should just try and play it all the way and see how low we can go today. So yeah, I might just do that. I think I might just split it into 2 vlogs. So you guys will probably have to stay tuned for the next one and see how low I go. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Golf with Jen.